Hello lovelies, I am the Fragnostic, and tonight on The Holy Truth we'll be taking a look at Dead But Alive, Southern England, a zombie survival simulator in the style of a visual novel set in my very own stomping grounds, surprise surprise, the south of England. This is probably one of the best prepared places in the world for a zombie apocalypse, what with town after town of dead-eyed violent teenagers shambling en masse through the streets. Pretty much the only thing standing between us and them at this point is a 24-hour McDonald's. Also, before we start, don't think I haven't bloody noticed this. Naughty naughty. They've pinched the font from The Walking Dead too, but I'm sure there's a freeware font of 50 floating around out there for that, so fair enough I guess. Fire up a new game in Dead But Alive and you'll jump straight into day 6. Our nameless protagonist is leading your average pick and mix bag of survivor stereotypes on a supply raid. Quite where rumours of a supply cache come from are one of the game's many unsolved mysteries, but believe me, we don't need to stoop to nitpicking things as insignificant as narrative logic in this technical nightmare. Meet the gang! Here's Steve, the racist. He's kind of your Daryl, save for some minor grievances with black people. Renate is the kindly old lady that doesn't want to kill anything or anyone. Never listen to her unless you want to be balls deeper in the dead than Ed Gein. Caroline's your sassy no bullshit farm girl with a cop for a daddy. Her thing is berating Steve, whining about her dog and giving you the lead on. This girl, I don't even know, a massive deal gets made about her being bitten and getting a zombie fever, and then you never fucking hear from her again, so God only knows. Along the way you'll pick up many more survivors to join your big happy family, but we'll have a look at how that works in a bit. So the raid goes south and you're forced out into the zombie strewn streets and into Dead But Alive's combat system. Yep, here it is. It's a slot machine, and it is beyond fucking tedious. The idea is to score higher than whichever corpse you're fighting. There's a couple of variations. Roll 1 or 2 skulls and you lose. Roll 3 together and you pretty much automatically win. These caps will also multiply whatever score you get on the other 2 wheels, so it's a good idea to try and hit them if at all possible. Your base combat score very much depends on which member of your party that you're using and whether they're firing a gun or not. Renate, for example, couldn't hit her own fucking reflection in a mirror, whereas you are basically John Rambo and Rocky Balboa's trans-dimensional gay sex baby and can dispatch most shit with ease. Who you get to be, however, is completely random, so one time you might end up with a trio of badasses, the next you'll end up with the fucking Alzheimer's support group. You can influence the outcome of the spin by flipping the brakes on the wheels, but they seem to stop whenever they feel like it, meaning you'll get agitated with it pretty bloody quickly. To speed things along you can always just hit the auto button and have the game do this shit for you, but it always ends up with one or more of your characters being wounded, and you really cannot afford for that to happen. Once you finish your fighting tutorial you head back to your camp. Here's where you'll spend the vast majority of your time in Dead But Alive, so let's take ourselves a quick tour. Up top you've got your stock count. From left to right we're looking at action points for the day, food, ammo, fuel and building materials. We'll see what all those do as we go. Over on the right is your day count and your noise level. The lower the better there obviously. We're trying to repel the dead, not the elderly. Up on top of the RV we've got managed supplies. This is a list of activities you can perform day by day within the camp, each with its own requirements and penalties. Hunting, for example, will bring you food but cost you ammo, action points and noise, whereas cooking is generally a much quieter way to restock your larder, unless you use Special Hero Ramsey, who will cure the dysentery you get from eating dog food but instantly raise your noise levels to 200% by screaming abuse at you for stirring the lentils counterclockwise. You can only do these once a day though, as most of them are infinitely more useful than actually going out on supply runs, as we shall see shortly. Next along is manage your party. Your party is split into VIPs, which are named characters, and common survivors, which are the nameless zombie fodder you pick up along the way. You can read their bios, engage them in light conversation, and check their health and relationship status to you. Steve has always hated me because I refuse to condemn people based on the colour of their skin or execute teenagers for minor indiscretions. The inventory of check defences is what you'll spend most of the game working towards as you attempt to throw fences and barriers up around your camp at a materials and labour cost that borders on the insane. The most basic fence will set you back 4 full days of nothing but building, by which point your food stock will run dry and piss everybody off, and 120 fucking material, which will take you just shy of a month to scrounge up if you're lucky. That's one of the big problems with Dead but Alive. Everything costs so damn much, all the food goes flying through people's digestive systems like they're down with fucking Crohn's disease, and you need to use bullets all the bloody time to stand a chance of winning fights. Same with fuel because it takes too fucking long to walk anywhere, and everything is just balanced about as well as the Cookie Monster's carb intake. Your last 2 stops are the diary and save menus by the fire, and the next day option on the right tent, which does what it promises once you've expended all your action points available for the round. Once your managed supplies options are exhausted, you'll have to leave camp to go on supply runs, gather NPCs and advance the story. The different symbols on the map allegedly show you what you can expect to find at the different locations, along with how severe the zombie resistance is likely to be. Not that it ever works like that. Head to a low risk ammo area, get in a fight and wind up with more food than ammo. Head to a low risk food area, get in a fucking fight, get Steve wounded, get a pitiful amount of food and bullets. It's just not worth the effort most of the time, but you have no damn choice. You can drive, but not too often because your fuel pisses away like you're going there in a Harrier jet, and it raises your noise profile, which can mean that the zombies will attack you in the night. It's really the fighting that breaks the game. Earlier you'll remember that I talked about the need to recruit survivors and the necessity of never touching the auto option in the combat menu for fear of your characters being wounded. The reason for both boils down to how you get action points in the game. Basically, the more survivors you have, the more action points you get, and believe you me, you are going to need as many as you can get as early as you can get them. If you're vigilant about balancing your trips to recruit new meat for your gang and getting tinned meat to feed them, you can build up a decent advantage against the later game. But for the love of fucking God, never ever let your characters get wounded, because once they do, you lose their AP, and in Dead but Alive, everybody heals like a diabetic in a pit full of plague rats. It doesn't matter what statistical advantage you have, hitting the auto option in combat will 9 times out of 10 wound or kill at least 2 or 3 of your roster, and you really can't afford for that to happen. So essentially it's fucking useless. You can't take the risk of using it, so you're forced into playing Casino of the Dead every time you fight something, which happens so much. The lockpick minigame is an abomination. You see it a lot in games now, kind of a variation on the Bethesda lockpick model from Fallout and the like, but this one is just plain fucking unforgiving. The mechanics are familiar. Twiddle the pin left and right to find the sweet spot, but every time you pick the wrong angle, your pick will break and the game will penalise you a point of materials. Now that'd be all well and good if you finally busted the fucking thing open and found a shit ton of fence building gear in there, but most of the time you waste away more of your resources breaking into the damn thing than you get out of it. It's not like you even know where these lockpick minigames are. You only find out once you've actually committed your action points and fuel to getting over there. So yeah, you can opt out of it and save losing anything else, but you've still pissed away a shitload of stock you need to find out that you're going to be walking away from that location with nothing but a loss. And that's if you don't get into a fucking fight first. But none of this is what makes Dead but Alive borderline unplayable. Aggravating and unenjoyable, absolutely. But the worst of it is that the game just does not fucking work. Sometimes it just won't load. It's a lottery. You just have to keep opening and closing the damn thing until you see a start menu. Once you're finally in, well, take a look. You know how with these visual novel games, story is pretty much all you have? Yeah. I mean, I read pretty fast, but I imagine this is how Skynet assimilates video games. This will happen at complete random and is absolutely unforgivable. Seriously, look at it. That's a good 85% of your game's focus out the window, isn't it? Absolute nonsense. I did check the Dead but Alive forums in regards to this issue, and the developer seems as mystified as I am, which is always lovely when you've dropped £11, £11 fucking pounds for a game like this. I soldiered on as best I could, but honestly, between the cliche story, the shoddy dialogue, and the overall clunky build of Dead but Alive, this is one of those times where you truly wonder why the fuck you should bother. So I didn't. See you again soon.